Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. And it's time to talk about the Devils of Hell's Kitchen, Daredevil, Born Again, Episode 8, Isle of Joy. And here's my friend of joy, Cheetah. How you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Fine, thank you. A little bit tired, but can't wait to talk about this week's episode. And what I've heard from various sources that this was one of the episodes that wasn't part of the reshuffle redesign. Um,
No, it was a part. These two episodes
no,
were.
sorry. What I meant to say is that it was more to do with like this was like a brand new start of an episode. Like it was part of the new Kevin Feige era, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I kind of should have said. Do apologize, my fatigue is kicking in, so maybe I'm not necessarily getting my words out correctly. But regardless, this, as you can see with this episode, it was pretty good. It was how I wanted my Daredevil to be. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Lots of setup, and from the straight off the mark, Cheetah, we got confirmation that Vanessa was in on the assassination of Fisk. You know, she set that guy up to get killed because obviously Fisk and Vanessa they're on the same wavelength.
I mean, we didn't find that out till the end of the episode, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely. I kind of thought that there was more involved. Like they were setting her up to be more involved than we thought she was. You know what I mean? Like I honestly felt like she was going to have more of a big part, and they might even go the route of her being worse than Fisk. Maybe not. Fisk is pretty bad, but I'm just saying like they might try to go that route with her.
When people say worse, I think she's actually more she's more devious and intelligent in Fisk. Not saying that Fisk isn't intelligent because what he did in season 3 to get out of jail and basically manipulate everyone, including the most powerful of people, to end up working for him was quite ingenious. But as a mob boss, she seemed to be far more lucrative in that particular sense. But still, regardless, there was set up for Vanessa because we did find out at the very end of the episode that she was the one who tried to get Foggy assassinated, and that itself was a big reveal. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the episode. But for me, my favorite power couple of all time is Fisk and Vanessa. Like they're back to where I like them to be, where they are together, in love, basically running things, and extremely dangerous at the same time.
And killing Vanessa's side piece.
And I saw that coming as well.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
did. Yeah,
if you're gonna, what it made me realize that if I was in a situation like that, I wouldn't start begging, saying I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything because it's only going to put doubt in the person's mind that you are going to say something, if you know what I mean.
hmm
You know, and Fisk now back on the same wavelength of Vanessa with Vanessa. Basically said, well, look, this is what I'm doing with your side piece. And yeah, he didn't die the last time. We saw this guy. I think his name is Adam.
Adam. Yeah,
Yeah, and we did see him breathing, but he recovered from those kingpin injuries pretty quick. By the looks of him, because Kingpin beat the shit out of him. But regardless, he recovered quickly enough, and there he is in jail. And there's Kingpin telling Vanessa, I love you so much that I'm going to show you what I've done with your old lover. And Vanessa's kind of like, what the fuck's going on here and stuff like that. But she stands by her man and ends up killing Adam, which I kind of saw coming, to tell you the truth.
I did too. As I said,
Yeah,
I was sitting there going, "Oh, he's dead."
she's become one of the most surprising characters in the show. I mean, because she was kind of a damsel in distress in season 3, and she wasn't really much. Wasn't used too much in season 2, but she's had a big part to play in season 4. So she definitely was. And like I said, I love this couple. I love this dynamic. We're watching Kingpin and Vanessa dance later on in the episode was just great. I mean, they are very dangerous.
Yeah,
So
I mean, but I think you nailed it on the head because you've called her the queen pin in the
Mhm.
past. And I mean, like, that's the nail on the head right there. Is that, as I said, she is either going to be just as bad, if not worse, than Wilson Fisk as the kingpin or queenpin of New York. And I think my thought is whether or not she is going to step away from Fisk, because Fisk does not want her to be involved in, like, all of the shenanigans in the underworld. But, like, is she going, like, she's obviously been playing some things behind the scenes, but, like, is she going to, like, basically say, well, I'm going to go do this and you can't stop me?
I think what she's basically saying to Wilson is that I, we were making way more money being gangsters than you are being a mayor. But what she doesn't realize is that regardless of that fact, Wilson Fisk has way more power being the mayor than, even though he's not making the money, than he was ever being than he was being kingpin of
Mhm.
New York. Because he's able to control cops. He has legal authority to do things that which he probably wasn't able to do as kingpin. So now being Mayor Fisk, he's way more powerful, and I think he's trying to tell that to Vanessa. This is a much better deal for us. We can still keep the gangster shit going to a degree. These guys will still be paying us, some sort of fee to keep doing what they're supposed to be doing. But being in this position, I have way more control. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe one day we'll see President Wilson Fisk um, in the MCU.
Maybe. I mean, it just depends. I mean, he's already been in jail once, so I don't. Again, I get where we're
What
at
does
with
that
the.
matter? Look at you. Seriously, you look at the guys who got in charge right now. Being in jail doesn't mean shit.
Well, he's
You
never
know.
been to jail, to be fair. But yes, I know. Like, he's been convicted. He's been, like, but still, not to get political, but it would be more of a stretch for me to think, okay, he's been to jail, he's going to be president, and you never know. Maybe he would make it to president in the real world. You never know, because people don't know the
Yeah.
things that we know because it's a TV show. So
Exactly. So unfortunately, I don't necessarily remember the names of all the characters, but I do remember some of the names of some of the actors. So we get Michael Gandolfini's character, who I'm surprised is still alive up till now, and he's been promoted to deputy mayor. Wilson Fisk sees mini Fisk in Junior Soprano here, and yeah, he's definitely going to. In my opinion, either continue where Fisk left off, or some people are saying he might be there to put in this position to take the fall if shit hits the fan. What do you think about that theory?
I mean, I could see Wilson Fisk. He tries to play all the angles. So I mean, yeah, he could be doing that to protect himself.
I think so. But we saw a lot of the chess pieces move in this episode as well. For a start, Daredevil Matt Murdock was being detective Daredevil Matt Murdock, because he was putting pieces together regarding Foggy's murder. Because for some reason, something just doesn't sit right with him. He believes he doesn't necessarily believe that Foggy was killed in some sort of grudge incident. He believes there's more to it, and he goes back to one of his old haunts, which was the bar where Foggy got murdered, which is now closed down. And he has a drink with the owner, and the cop obviously knows who he is. And from there, he's able to put two and two together. I personally didn't figure out how a change of whiskey bottle made him realize. Maybe you can explain that to me, because I was trying to understand what the fuck. So he didn't drink that particular whiskey; he drank another type of whiskey. All of a
Well,
sudden, Matt Murdock's able to realize that this meant Vanessa was the killer. Please explain that to me.
I mean, it was kind of a stretch for me too. I'm like, he basically got from the bottle that Foggy was celebrating because he knew he was going to win. That's why Foggy had to die. Like, not had to, but like that, like whoever killed like Wilson Fisk or whoever wanted him dead had to kill him because without Foggy they couldn't win the case. You know what I mean? So like,
And what case was that? I mean, they
I
even
that's
elaborated on the
I
case.
don't even think that they've explained that yet. That's what I'm saying
Yeah.
is like, but that's what I'm saying. There is a bit of a hole, a glaring hole here in why Foggy was killed, what this case was like. I've watched some other reviewers who say like, it has to do, maybe it has to do with Vanessa, a case with Vanessa. Maybe we'll find out next episode what that case is, but I don't even know. Like I was just as lost as you on that one where I'm like, okay, so he got the fact that he was going to win the case from the bottle so that somebody killed. We know that he was targeted by Poindexter. How does that get us any closer to who targeted him? You know what I mean? Like he can assume Fisk all he wants because he just doesn't like Fisk, but who maybe one of those other mob bosses had him killed. You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm saying like I don't see his rationale from getting to point A to point B.
Like, didn't Bullseye try to kill Vanessa in season 3 at the end?
I I don't remember. I think so. I don't
Because it
think
was a triple
Bullseye.
threat.
I don't think Bullseye
It was a
knows who
triple.
hired him
Fair enough. Fair
because
enough.
I think he thinks Wilson Fisk hired him. That's why he was trying to shoot him at the end of the episode.
Yeah. Okay. There was a really good moment as well in this episode that people might have not realized was the moment where this this man who comes to Matt Murdock's law firm to ask to be he needs a defense attorney and he's asking Murdock to be that person. But Murdock picks up very quickly in the tone of his voice that this guy who's been accused of scamming is actually a scammer, and he's been scamming teachers and taking away their money, taking away their livelihood. And Murdoch is not having any of it. You can tell he's a lawyer of principle. I mean, he's not just a hero on the streets; he's a hero off the streets as well.
He's
And if he
also a
thinks
hero
that,
in the sheets as well.
yeah, but regardless, just because you hire him doesn't mean he's going to take the job. If he thinks you're a criminal, he won't defend you. Yeah, and he knows that guy is guilty of sin, and this is the thing now with his practice with it. Do you think it's going to fall apart because?
I think she's going to out him. Like I think McDuffie, the partner, I think she's going to out him. Like not out maliciously, but she's going to be like, look, this is just because even she said at the end of the episode, or at that point in the episode, she said this is just not working out, and I think she's going to be like, look, I'm buying you out of your shares or whatever it is, and I'm taking, like I'm going to look for a different partner or something like that. Like I can see that happening. That's it's kind of like Matt Murdock is like the Miles O'Brien of the Marvel universe. Like, they always say like Miles O'Brien must pay. It's like Matt Murdock must pay, like everywhere in his life.
Yeah, for sure. But I did like that scene though. Like it was just brilliant, and we find out obviously Bullseye's now going into general population, and I like the fact that his hands are just covered up. I mean, the guy is just. I think he's got one of the greatest. Like, I don't know if you call it a superpower, but the fact that anything in his hands could be a weapon. Yeah,
I just want to know. I want to know what they did to him because he's obviously got augmentation. Like when he threw him off the building in episode 1, I mean, it looked like he had metal under his skin. But what does that mean? Like does he have an adamantium skeleton now? Like does he? Like they
he
don't.
doesn't have not a skeleton. It's to do with his spine, but
But like the
at
metal
the
was
same
on
time,
his face. That's what I'm saying. Is like, yeah, your spine's way back here. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is like on his face, and I'm like, I just don't. I wish I got a little bit of like maybe a little bit of backstory as to what they did to him. Obviously they were doing the surgery at the end of season 3 on him, but and also how does that equate? Like I know he was a good marksman before, but how does that equate to him being a perfect marksman? You know what I mean? Like what? Like yeah, he was a good marksman before, but so was Hawkeye.
yeah. I mean, Hawkeye is weird in a way. Like like Bullseye is looked upon as, and I'm going to bring on all the characters now: Hawkeye, Deadshot, Green Arrow, Bullseye. All of those guys tend to be good with particular types of equipment, like like obviously Hawkeye and Green Arrow are great with arrows; they never miss. Deadshot never misses when it comes to using guns. But Bullseye, the way he operates, guns, it doesn't matter. If it's in his hand, he will get you, accurately.
Not even in his hands. He shot the dude with his tooth out of his mouth.
Yeah, that was
Like,
brilliant.
I'm like, and again,
That was brilliant.
I'm willing to suspend my belief because it's a TV show. I understand that, but I'm just like, I wish I had some context as to what happened to him, how he survived the fall off the roof, how, like, what did they do to him to make him like enhanced, apparently. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe we'll get that next episode, but at the same time, I'm like, we could have got that this episode. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like, even a little bit of
yeah, yeah. Well, look, like I said, we saw at the end of season 3, his eyes change color and stuff like that, and there is something with the way he looks at things, like it goes a bit blue, and I think he's able. Look, he was always able to. If he saw something, he could hit it. That wasn't the issue. But now, I think with his eyes being the way they are, he can figure out exactly where his target is. In a crowd or whatever, he can really pinpoint it, which is what he was trying to do with Fisk before he assassinated, before he tried to assassinate him. But it was Matt Murdock who set up Poindexter to get out of jail, because he Bullseye did ask to see Matt Murdock, and Matt Murdock stupidly obliged. And they had a moment in jail where they were talking to each other. He wanted to get out of Gen Pop. He knew that being in Gen Pop would kill him. I'm surprised he was still alive. But Matt, letting his anger get the best of him, he smacks his head against the table a couple of times. And that's how I think he lost his tooth. And that was the beginning of the end. But also it was foreshadowing too, because Poindexter said to Murdoch, good men like you, protect your enemies, or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the foreshadowing of the end of the episode as well, which was a nice touch. But I'm so happy that Bullseye's escaped, because he is without doubt one of the greatest MCU villains. He's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and he's not like when I put these guys as leader of villains, like a Thanos, like a Kingpin, like a Red Skull, even a Doctor Doom, but he's without that one of the sort of like best assassin villains. Probably the best assassin villain. Like when it comes to his skill set, I just love how he is. Like he's just so fucking dangerous. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
And
my thing is with him is that I agree with you. I think he is one of the greatest marksman villains in Marvel and DC. I just want them to do more with him. I feel like with him being in Daredevil is good. I feel like they need to take him to the next level. Like, I'm sorry, like, if they do a Dark Avengers type thing, like in the comic books, and I know I'm bringing up the comic books, and sometimes it doesn't translate well, but like this is your in for Poindexter to be put into the Dark Avengers, because in the Dark Avengers he's Hawkeye. Like he plays Hawkeye in the Dark Avengers, which makes perfect sense because he's Bullseye, he doesn't miss. So it makes a lot of sense, like, so
is it like a parallel universe, or does
no, the Dark Avengers is Norman Osborn's version. I don't know if you ever saw the
No, I know, but weren't they the Thunderbolts as well?
Mm-mm. They were called
No,
the Dark
okay.
Avengers. Well, they were called the Avengers, but the comic was called the Dark Avengers. It was Norman Osborn. He had an Iron Patriot outfit. Sentry was in there. Venom, Matt Gargan was played Spider-Man in the black costume, but it was he looked like Spider-Man. He didn't look like the big Venom. It was he just looked like he was Spider-Man in the black costume. Obviously Bullseye was Hawkeye. But basically just a lot. Oh, there was a Wolverine guy, and I don't remember who he was. I think he was either Wolverine's son or somebody else. I don't remember who he was. But yeah, like there was this whole Dark Avengers line, and I'm like, this is kind of the thing with the Thunderbolts. It's like, like you got the Thunderbolts coming in. I don't, not getting into all that. It is MCU, but I'm not down with this whole Thunderbolts thing. I think the movie is going to be okay, but I'm not feeling the team at all.
Well, they're doing more Suicide Squad, and like a lot of these characters are like redeemable to a degree, and they're not all necessarily bad guys. As well, like Bucky's obviously redeemed himself. Even John Walker kind of redeemed himself at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier. So and Yelena and her dad, they're not necessarily bad guys. They just work for they just happen to be Russian. That
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily make them evil. You
Also, I
know,
forgot Yelena Belova did play Black Widow in the Dark Avengers. Yelena Belova is actually a villain. At least she
yeah,
was. So I mean,
Task, yeah,
I don't mind her being a good guy here, like in the MCU, but I'm just like, like the Dark Avengers was Norman Osborn's thing, like but Sentry was also a part of that. So I'm like, I don't know. I think they need. I agree with you about Poindexter. He is definitely a great villain. They need
I
to.
don't want him. Yeah, keep him a villain. I don't want him to be a good
No,
guy
no,
or
no,
a
and the
hero.
Dark Avengers were never heroes. Like they play, like it was like kind of like the boys. They
Yeah, the
played
boys. Yeah,
heroes, but like like to everybody else. But they did like shitty things on the DL. You know what I mean? Like they, like Norman Osborn back then was just like, I mean, he was a shitty person, just like a lot of the other people on the. I think Hercules was on the team too. Hercules was kind of like playing the Thor character, but he wasn't. Or no, Ares. It was Ares. From the Hercules comic books was playing the Thor type character, even though he didn't play Thor. He was still Ares, but yeah, like it was just this whole thing, and it was actually really interesting, like how it, like the boys, like how the perception of superheroes for normal people versus like what they are like in like real life and what they're doing behind the scenes. So maybe that's why they don't want to do the Dark Avengers, because it would be basically the boys ripoff. But technically, I think the Dark Avengers happened before the boys. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, back to the episode.
and plus the boys. I mean, I know it's not your favorite show, but it's a very popular show, and
Mm-hmm.
the barometer is fucking high. And the fact that it's Disney who are in charge of Marvel to match that barometer, it'll be impossible for Disney because they are their own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So
They're not doing
exactly, yeah.
too
But
bad of
back
a job in this show, though. I get it. It
no,
still seems like Netflix light. I still agree with that it's Netflix light, but I'm like, they're not doing too bad with this. I think they're not
no,
pulling their
no,
punches that
they're
much with
not
this.
they're not doing too bad, but Disney will never be able to do what the boys do. Like
Oh
it's just
no,
them.
absolutely not. Not on not
Yeah,
on Disney Plus. That's for damn sure.
yeah, exactly.
They might do it in the movies with the popularity of Deadpool and Wolverine, but I still even I don't think they'd even be able to touch the boys at their worst. Like worst as in like like adult oriented, not like worst as in like writing and stuff. So
Well, Bullseye is now out of jail. He hasn't got a costume, by the way, which is a shame. But regardless, he's out of jail, and he's now looking to get revenge, and he's not wasting any time as well. I think also dangerous for him regarding being in Gen Pop is that people forget he is a former cop as
mhm.
well.
I
So
honestly did forget that. I forgot
yeah,
that when he first went in there, I said okay, and then somebody said, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, he was a cop. I forgot.
yeah,
But I think do you think maybe he has like a reputation though, like as being dead, like as being Bullseye, and like maybe they're like,
exactly.
he may be a cop,
No,
but we're not fucking with him.
well, it's not just that, but the point is, they will fuck with him if his hands are tied up, But if he can't use his hands, then which I found so weird that when they were working on the surgery on him, the fact that his hands weren't covered up, I was like, are you stupid? Whatever this guy does, even if he has to take a shit, his hands need to be covered up. The guy will be using his feces as a fucking weapon.
Mhm.
So yeah. All right. So we're now at this ball, and by the way, Matt and is it Helena or
Heather
Heather?
or Heather? Heather, I think.
Yeah. Now I do know from the comics to a degree that their relationship never really works out. In various ways.
And that again, Matthew Murdock must pay. Like nothing ever works out for him. Like
It seems to be a bit of a curse for Marvel characters just generally. But regardless, this relationship with this lady, it was kind of always on the rocks, and Matt finds out that that she being the only shrink in New York was also not only working with Muse and and only dating Matt, but was also working with Wilson and Vanessa. And he finds that out, and he's not happy about it. And then him and his girlfriend had a bit of an argument because, you know, as far as she's concerned, what Wilson's doing is a good thing, even though Matt knows who he genuinely is, and but at the same time can't tell her that she's fucking, he's Daredevil, because he's one of the few superheroes in the MCU who does have a secret identity. Not many, but he's one of them. But you could see like the strains in their relationship, and he was asked to go to the ball, the black and white ball, and he said that he never really said that he was going to go, but when Heather was there, he looked like he obviously wasn't going to come until he does come, and he comes kind of fashionably late. Obviously he's dealing with all those other issues that we mentioned earlier, like seeing Bullseye in jail and stuff like that, but he does eventually come. And he and this is where we get some interesting moments. Like there's one moment in the ball where there's a guy who's taking undercover pictures, and Kingpin tells one of his guys to go get him, and they get that guy and they take him to the back, and then they throw his hand in front of the police commissioner as well. The police commissioner was there to save. I thought the police commissioner saved him. Police commissioner didn't do shit. They threw his fucking hand in the oil. Like Jesus Christ. You never. He mentioned I mentioned about wiping asses, saying that he couldn't wipe his ass ever again. Imagine that, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the police commissioner couldn't do shit.
Yep. Well, and that's kind of the thing with this. As I said, the whole cop thing, like I don't know, like this whole like Punisher cop task force thing it's just not been handled well. Like I mean, if we're just gonna go into next episode and they're gonna handle all these like cops and stuff like that, that's too much. Like that's too much in one episode. Like I really feel like this should have been something that they were handling over the season. And as I said, if they're saving this for season 2, fine. Like that's great. Have them work with, but they're saying like next week Frank Castle's going to be back and they're going to take care of this task force, and it's like that's kind of a waste.
I don't know what we're culminating to tell you the truth. At the same time, Muse is already dead, so he was like a mid season villain, just to fill in the gap whilst Bullseye was in jail. Now Bullseye's back out. Like what is the end game of this particular season? So it's hard to tell. Anyways,
yeah, no, I agree. Like, what are we culminating to?
Yeah,
nothing that I know of. I mean, as I said, yeah, they got to take care of Bullseye, but like I said last week, I'm like, well, I thought Muse was going to be like the main villain. Like, obviously Kingpin and Daredevil were going to be the two sides of this coin, but it's like, okay, so Muse was supposed to be, then Muse is dead. Now you got Vanessa, who's turning out to be one of the big bads, but it's like, we kind of already knew that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I kind of saw the Vanessa thing coming from a mile away. This is not a shocker at all.
Well, before we go on a bit more about her, I want to mention BB, the reporter. Now, she had a quick word with the police commissioner, and the police commissioner does mention that one of the chief suspects of her uncle's killing is the Kingpin, and she knows that. She knows that Wilson probably killed her uncle, which is why she's undercover working for him. But this is the thing: does she come out of this alive? Does she because if Wilson thinks he's smelling a rat, then she's dead.
Well, and that's kind of, I can't tell if Wilson, like I can't tell if he is kind of like not like having pity on her because she killed her uncle, or if he's just using her. You know what I mean? Like, he's got that really weird sense of family where it's like, I killed her uncle, so now I owe her something. Even though I killed him, I still owe her something. Like it's I don't know. Kingpin's got this weird mentality, and that's what makes him interesting.
I wouldn't necessarily say owe her something. It's the old adage of keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
But that was the other side. Is like maybe that's it. But I'm like, I don't know. I almost feel like he's more like I want to keep an eye on her because I feel like I owe her something. Like that, because he's called her in for other interviews and stuff like that. Help, so I don't know if he feels like he's helping her in some way or not.
Yeah, I think he's too sadistic to think that way. Personally, I think he just wants to keep tabs on her,
Maybe.
if anything. But while BB and the commissioner are having a conversation, they have to keep their conversation short and sweet because if too many people start seeing them talking, then that could not be very good for her. But then finally, Matt, once he arrives at the ball, actually, sorry, before I go there, Swordsman. He, by the way, you remember, I'm not sure if you saw what I wrote on contributors, our private chat. I'm getting Tony Stark vibes from the Swordsman. I'm not sure if you can see where I'm coming from.
Not really. I don't see those vibes from him. Like a rich guy with a mustache, like I don't. I mean,
he's kind of suave, sophisticated, intelligent guy. Obviously, he's not like a quantum mechanical engineer level of intelligence. But regardless, hello there, Block. Regardless, he's quite savvy. And he's different to Tony Stark to a degree, but I get the vibe from him. And yeah, when he was in Wilson Fisk's office, I'm thinking to myself, he can't be killed here. No way you're gonna kill him. At this particular moment, like
they've done fuck all with him though. Like, yeah, you've seen him on like a TV, and he's had 2 conversations with Fisk. Like what? Like I could see if maybe he played a little bit more of a prominent. Maybe he's like within the inner circle of Fisk's group or in the inner circle of Vanessa's group, and but he's also kind of playing the back end of like he's also the vigilante, and he's trying to take them out from the inside. But he doesn't even get enough time in this show to really do that. And honestly, I feel like that would be interesting if they made him like a co-star. I feel like that would be more interesting than the whole McDuffie thing, with Matt or Murdoch and McDuffie's law
well,
firm.
I hope we do see him in action in the final episode, in some capacity. But I was hoping for one maybe interaction between Matt and the Swordsman. That would have been nice, but they haven't had that yet. I mean, there's still one more episode, so that could be still there. But every time I saw Tony Dalton's name in the credits, I thought, yeah, because I was right about him in Hawkeye when they were trying to make him out to be the villain, and I just knew instantly, yeah, this is a red herring. He's not the villain whatsoever, and now that he's come back, because I like seeing these sort of things that he's coming back. I would love to see that Swordsman character in some capacity do his thing in this series. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, but I'm glad Wilson didn't kill him. I'm thinking to myself, there's no way Wilson's going to kill him because he can't he can't afford to have a speck of blood on that white suit. Obviously, that happens a bit later, but there's no way. And I was so happy when he walked out of there alive. And what also made me laugh as well is how it is sometimes when you're talking with your partner and they're talking to you. And unfortunately, this is a man thing. This is definitely a man thing where you just don't hear them talk, like your mind's going elsewhere and they're talking to you and you're not listening to them. And Matt is kind of doing that with his missus. But the point is that he's trying to listen into whatever Fisk is saying. And he's trying to listen into the conversation he's having with the swordsman. And all this time, Heather's thinking that, yeah, Matt's not listening. It's just brilliant. It's clever writing, in my opinion. So, but now, Fisk, he's doing deals. He's doing deals in his office, with all these billionaires and millionaires, making, trying to get what he wants, the power that he wants, because power is way more important than money. And getting all these, influential people under his thumb, is the way forward for as far as he's concerned. But then finally, Matt Murdock is going to try and confront Willie and just it's like, okay, what the hell's going on? But before they have a chance to do that, the dance begins, and that's that stops Matt Murdock from being able to talk to Wilson Fisk. But this is the cool moment because Matt starts dancing with his girlfriend, and Wilson knows that he has super hearing, so he's talking to him without necessarily speaking to him directly, which I thought was pretty cool. No?
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, and then Matt obviously figures out that Vanessa's the one who killed Foggy, or wanted to kill Foggy, and intervenes in their dance, cuts in, takes Vanessa and starts dancing with her and gets a confession out of her. But Vanessa also knows that Matt is the Daredevil.
I
I'm
did
kind
I
of
did
surprised.
I did like the moment where Matt realized that Vanessa's the one who did it, where he's just like, it wasn't Wilson, it was Vanessa. Like, like, just, I don't know. Charlie Cox is a great actor. He definitely makes you vested in what he's doing.
Before I go into this next bit, is the American accent pretty good, or does he sound convincing as an American?
Charlie Cox? Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. He's very good at the accents. He's played Irishman as well.
Yeah, I mean,
So.
he doesn't sound like he's like from New York, but he does sound like an American. Like, he does sound good. He doesn't make me think he's from anywhere else, but he doesn't exactly sound like he's from New York. Like, what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not like have you seen the Gangs of New York?
No, I have not, but I know. I mean, I know you've talked about it before.
Daniel Day-Lewis, Irishman, but he's got his New York accent is spot on. You know what I mean? So, and even Gary Oldman, he was talking about New York accent, like an Irish New York accent and a Italian New York accent, and he was able to do the different ones, which was pretty cool as well. So yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go too much of a tangent.
But the guy who has a really good New York accent is what's the young kid, the one that was on the Sopranos kid.
Michael Gandolfini.
Yeah, Michael Gandolfini. His actually New York accent is actually pretty good. Like it. I don't know if he's actually like got that, if that's his natural. Like, I haven't heard him talk outside of the show, but I'm like, he sounds pretty convincing as like a New Yorker. Like, so.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, like, if he was staying with his dad, and his dad made 5 or 6 seasons of 6 seasons of The Sopranos over several years, and they were mainly filming in New Jersey and New York. So yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, as they're dancing and stuff like that, and Matt realizes that Wilson is actually innocent regarding the death of Foggy. He's not necessarily innocent, but he's innocent regarding the death of Foggy. And so once he starts, his super hearing comes into play. He's able to pick up that Bullseye is around. And I was a bit upset, really, because there's Bullseye with a fork in his hand. I'm thinking he's going to bloody, javelin somebody with that fork. But no, he kills one of the guards with the fork, and he kills him off screen, which is a shame. And then he just gets a regular gun and uses that instead.
I don't know if you mentioned before, but we also find out right around this point in the like right before all that goes down is, BB knows that Wilson Fisk killed.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
Did you? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she spoke to the police commissioner.
Yeah.
About it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that was right before all this was going down, because I think they started the dancing like right after that or whatever. But because that's when Matt was going to confront him, and then the spotlights came on all of a sudden. That trope, where it's like, I'm about to confront the bad guy, and then something happens. It's like, argh.
And I don't know how good these sniper rifles are. They're usually supposed to, penetrate a body. So even though Matt did the save on the Kingpin, because he was innocent from killing Foggy, which is why he saved him, in my opinion. I don't know if he would necessarily have saved him if he knew Kingpin did kill Foggy. He might have at the end of the day, because that's who Matt Murdock is. But he stopped Poindexter from killing him by putting his arm in the way of the shot, and you can see it was an arm wound, so he's going to be all right, you know. But still, I don't know. I don't know much about guns, but I do feel that a shot like that from a gun like that should go through his arm and maybe go into Kingpin regardless. No.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought that, but I mean, it makes me wonder though, like maybe was he wearing some kind of protective vest underneath all of that suit? You know, like
Maybe he's got his suit underneath the thing, like a lot like a lot of superheroes do. They wear their suit underneath their regular clothes.
yep,
You know.
yep.
So I mean, Spider-Man does that. Superman does that. You know, the Fantastic Four does that. So, well, I mean, Johnny Storm did that. We saw that with Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, and there's Kingpin. I knew Kingpin's not going to wear a pure white suit and not have it covered in blood at some particular point, you know. And it's now covered in Matt Murdock's blood, and he's holding him for a brief second, and he doesn't. His mind must be going all over the place because this is his arch enemy, his mortal enemy is Daredevil. It is Matt Murdock. And Matt Murdock has just thrown himself in front of a bullet to save him. Like, he's like, what the fuck? Wilson Fisk must be thinking, you know? But yeah, the episode ends. I'm actually surprised that Bullseye didn't try to get off another shot. It's not like it would be difficult for him. And I'm surprised Bullseye went for the chest and not for the head. You know what? You know, good old Thor should have gone for the head. You know, so there you go. But we end the episode with Daredevil, Matt Murdock, bleeding on the floor with his girlfriend alongside him. And that's the end of the episode. A brilliant episode, in my opinion. One of the best episodes, arguably the best episode so far this season. You can see the different direction they decided to go with this show. Once they were done with all the reshoots, because this felt more authentically Netflix, but they got the Netflix writers and creators to do this episode, and you can see it. You know, like
Well,
their print all over this episode.
I'm just hoping next season 2, will be a bit more cohesive. You know what I mean? Like this, to me, this season has not been garbage. Like it has not been garbage, like some people have said it's going to be because of the reshoots and the rewrites and all that. But it's still at the same time, like it does feel a little disjointed at parts. And I'm just hoping next season if they bring everybody back from this, you know, from the rewrites of this season, everything will kind of feel, you know, together. You know, everything will feel like that it's coming together.
Yeah, I agree. And they're already filming season 2, by the way. You know that. And there's pictures of Matt in the black suit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and it's weird in a way because the guy doesn't know anything about colors. You know, he's got a yellow suit, he's got a red suit, I think he's got a gray suit, and his black.
I think
suit.
they're just going to try to pretend that yellow suit never existed from She-Hulk. Like I really feel like they're going to try to ignore that and not even acknowledge it ever existed.
I have no problem. I mean, it's all part of the same universe and shit like that. So, but anyways, it was a very well done episode with a great cliffhanger, and we're now on to the season finale for next week.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to it. You looking forward to it?
Yeah, I want to see how they tidy everything up. But as I said, I don't know what. As I said, like they're, you know, you've got Vanessa, you've got Kingpin, you've got these police, and like huh?
Bullseye. You even got I think you got the Punisher as well. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, what are we trying to cram in this episode? That's why I kind of wish they would let these like police, like the Punisher police, whatever you want to call them. I don't remember what they're called, but like the Punisher police, like let that kind of go into the next season. You know what I mean? Like handle Bullseye, handle maybe Vanessa, or not maybe like handle her, but like bring closure to those two stories. And then like save the Punisher stuff for season 2, you know, because I don't want them to rush through all of this. I really feel like that, if they do try to wrap up the Punisher police and have Punisher back in episode 9, it's going to be like, it's just going to be this big, really quick cluster throughout the rest of it. So
I don't want necessarily Matt Murdock or the Punisher. I don't want the good guys to get a win here. I would love for Fist to come out victorious at the end of this season.
I think he will, in a manner of speaking. Like, I think they're going to take care of Bullseye, but like get him either back to jail or get him
Don't
off
kill
the.
him. Do
No, no, no,
not
not no, no,
kill.
no, not kill him. Like get him off the board. You know what I mean? Like get him. He'll go. Maybe they'll take him to some black site or something like that, and like then he'll become like he'll work for the U.S. government or something like that. And I know that's like a Suicide Squad thing, but I'm like, it's a way to kind of get him off the board without killing him.
I think
Um,
I just love the character, and
No, and
I
I
would
don't want
love
them
to
to kill
see.
him either. I think that they could do so much more with Bullseye. Like that's my thing is like you could do so much more with that character outside of Daredevil. And I'm not saying he's wasted here. He's good here, but they need to like upgrade his game and like bring him into something else. That's the beauty of the MCU is like you can have all the like that's like with I liked Captain America Brave New World. I love the fact that we had that Hulk and Captain America crossover. It's the benefit of having a huge universe where you can have these unique stories and crossovers. You know what I mean? Like everyone's like, "Oh, it's just the Incredible Hulk 2." I'm like, "Well, what was Captain America 3? Captain America 3 was Avengers 2.5." And nobody complained about that. That I like when they do these things. And that's why I think Bullseye needs to get out of like just the Daredevil area.
I
At least,
agree. I 100% agree. Like they're gonna do. I mean, look, what better place to do it than if the rumored season 2 of Hawkeye. You
yeah.
know, Hawkeye versus Bullseye for me that's ideal. And I look, I know Hawkeye is really known for his accuracy with a bow and arrow, but there was a mention when he retired that retirement wasn't for him because he was golfing and he was getting 18 holes out of 18
Mhm.
and stuff like that. He's got the accuracy game.
Mhm.
I would love to see, I would love to see them two go at it. Like the good guy versus bad guy with the same sort of ability.
I I just want Wilson Fisk to be like the Thanos level villain of the street level heroes,
Yeah,
including
yeah.
I'm sorry, including Spider-Man. I want I
Oh,
want that
without doubt.
I want that Team Red, like not Team Red, the like the I call them like the Thunderbolts Red because it's like you could have your Elektra and Punisher and Daredevil and even like guys like Ghost Rider. Like I know you're kind of getting into the mystic there, but like these street level heroes, as I said, including Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's heavily involved in the Kingpin story. But it's like I would love to see that kind of like culmination with with these like and don't do it like the Defenders. Like they did it with the Defenders and some things worked, but a lot didn't.
There's a whole bunch of heroes, in my opinion, that could go up against the Kingpin. I would love to see Captain America go up against him. Sam Wilson's obviously, because there's something there, and obviously there's some villains that might be a bit too strong for him. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing Ms. Marvel go up against him. And by the way, Ms. Marvel is not in the is not mentioned wasn't mentioned in the Doomsday
Well, I mean,
doc.
neither was Benedict Cumberbatch. Neither was, I mean, like, there's a lot of people that weren't mentioned.
Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel wasn't mentioned, which was a shocker in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Which
mean, Benedict Cumberbatch and Wong weren't mentioned. I mean, there's a ton of people that weren't mentioned in it that I'm like,
Wong I'm more surprised than Benedict than Doctor Strange simply because Doctor Strange has gone into some multiverse shit, with Charlie's Theron. So um I can that's his get out, as far as I'm concerned. But Wong, he's still around. I mean, last time we saw him, he was with Madison. So
he was also
I
he was
would love to
also
see
at the end of
Madison come back.
he was also in
Yeah,
Shang-Chi.
no, but Madison was most recent. So
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
uh,
I know. I'm just saying, but like, yeah, I mean, he's been around, and I don't mind him. Like he's like he was like the Coulson, like Coulson in Phase 1 was kind of showing up everywhere.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's just oh man, it's just oh god, even Abomination. Where the fuck is he? Like Yeah, he should have been in the Thunderbolts without
He
a
should
doubt.
have. Oh, we could have a whole other discussion on what I thought the Thunderbolt should have been, because this Black Widow 2 crew is just not.
The super soldiers.
Yeah, like I mean, Thunderbolt suit. The asterisk stands for Super Soldier Crew. You know,
Yeah,
like
because apart from Ghost, they're all super soldiers. I mean, Helena. I mean, Yelena isn't, but she
acts like one.
acts like one. Yeah, but like I said, they're all redeemable characters, all of them. Even Taskmaster and Ghost. But it'll be good to see some of those characters come back just for the sake of it.
I just
But
think
yeah,
they should have done a Black Widow too, like, and just make Helena Belova the Black Widow. You know what I mean? Like, they should have just done Black Widow too instead of doing Thunderbolts. I'm like, I it's a real big missed opportunity. You know what I mean? For for that. And then they say, oh, well, these are going to be the Dark Avengers. And I'm like, why? Why are these guys the Dark Avengers? It makes
not
no sense.
anti-heroes. Yeah, not anti-heroes.
They're
It's
yeah,
got to
like
be.
the Dark Avengers were villains. Like, they were
Yeah, yeah,
villains portraying heroes. But again, like the boys, they were just shitty, like they were villains in real life.
yeah,
But they
exactly.
put on that form of heroes.
Yep, I agree. They're all about the image more than the act. All right, so let's wrap this up.
Mhm.
What would you like to give episode 8?
I'll probably give it an 8. It was pretty good. Like, it was good. It was well paced. It definitely feels like it's got, back on. It feels like it's the season is back on track. Although I didn't hate any of the previous episodes. I really did enjoy this one. I thought that they're really, like, this was a good penultimate episode, I feel. As long as they don't try to shoehorn too much into the last episode.
Well, as long as the last episode isn't like 25 minutes or some shit like that. I hate stuff like that.
Yeah.
I hate fucking short episodes as the finale. I'm gonna give this episode a 9 actually. Because you could see, that having this new creative team on board, you could see the difference. You could feel the Netflix Daredevil in this episode. It really felt like it in every aspect. With the characters and the writing, and it was brilliant. And the fact that not only did it feel like a Netflix episode, but they still had to somehow counter in all the shit prior to this, which wasn't done by these same people, was also excellent as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, credit is where credit is due. And Matt didn't play Daredevil in this episode, I believe.
I mean, no, he didn't at all. And I mean, he
And
hasn't played Daredevil a lot in this season, and that's one of my gripes is like, and I've said this in other episodes, so I'm not going to elaborate, but like, again, this is one of those things where it's like we've been here before, whereas like he's fighting that inner devil per se, and it's like, and yes, he did put the costume on again, but then here we are in another episode without any Daredevil in it.
well, no, but this is the same because I didn't miss it this episode whatsoever.
And I'll agree with you on that. I didn't miss it either. I'm just saying, like, the overall narrative of the season, though. I do miss
Sometimes,
Daredevil in the overall narrative of the season.
sometimes characters can be so good and endearing that they don't need to wear their costume. Like they're just such an interesting persona. And Matt Murdock himself, like I said, he's not an alter ego like Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne. He is, still, the devil of Hell Kitchen in a suit. And he still portrays that goodness. He's not trying to make people think, oh, maybe he's Daredevil because of how he talks and how he behaves and yada yada yada, regardless of him being blind. He doesn't care about pretending to be somebody that he's not. He still represents his values as Matt Murdock. So that was, in a way, it's like watching Daredevil in a suit.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I mean, he definitely has a good balance, whereas Bruce Wayne and Batman definitely is like, it just, and there are some people who play a really good Bruce Wayne, but I'm like, it definitely is always about Batman, where it's like with Daredevil, it's always like a balance between Daredevil and Matt Murdock. And as you said, like a devil in a suit versus a devil, hiding behind a suit, like, or I
Well,
don't know.
this is the thing as well. Like, I mean, I'm sorry for tangenting here, but I feel like I need to say it. Like, this is why I wasn't a big fan of Lois and Clark. The Dean Cain stuff, because they made Clark Kent to be a pretty cool dude. You know, that was Dean Cain's interpretation of him, and I would have actually really have liked Lois and Clark if Dean Cain tried to bring out his inner Christopher Reeve and do a doofus type of Clark Kent.
Yeah, I don't think Dean
You know,
Cain would have done that very well though, because Dean
no,
Dean
I don't think. Yeah,
Cain,
he's not capable of doing it. He's not that good an actor.
yeah, that too. But I was more
Yeah,
saying like I don't think Dean Cain would have naturally been able like I felt like Christopher Reeve did that kind of like big tall doofus type, klutz thing really well.
yeah.
Whereas I don't think Dean Cain could have done that well. Brandon Ruth did that pretty well. Um, uh, Henry Cavill did not do that very well.
He didn't
Uh,
play that. He played a very serious Clark Kent.
he did like Tyler Hecklin did a
Okay,
great
yeah.
job as like kind of like that klutzy. Good. He was a good like hybrid like
No,
between.
he played a serious Clark Kent. In
Yeah,
my
but he did
opinion.
he did really well with those klutzy moments too, where he was like trying to throw everybody off his scent, about like being kind of like that opie, Clark Kent.
He could be a bit clumsy and stuff like that, but he kind of had values at the same time. Like um Christopher Reeve really played like a man, like a coward in Clark Kent as well. But regardless, I actually enjoy seeing stuff like that. Even I don't want to sound like I'm like being hypocritical here. If I was, one of my issues with the Batman, Robert Pattinson's one, is that he was not behaving like the Bruce Wayne that people know of. He was very much, an emo type character, so to speak. He wasn't being the flamboyant rich guy, spoiled person, which was the persona that Bruce Wayne would always give, so people would never ever assume that he was Batman. The same way
Yeah,
Clark Kent, is this doofus idiot, so people would never ever assume that he's Superman. You
yeah,
know, and I like that as well. So, and I would love to see more of that in television shows and movies and stuff like that, the alter ego, because in a way that's way more fascinating than them being themselves as the superhero, because the superhero is more authentically themselves, them actually faking it as Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent is brilliant, and seeing how long they can portray it and not have to break their persona and stuff like that. Yeah, I find that also interesting to watch too. So yeah.
yeah.
So, all right. So, yeah, you gave it an 8. I gave it a 9. I thought this was an excellent episode. Oh, next week, final episode, and it's done. Last
It's
bit
all
of
right.
Marvel content for a while.
Last of Us is coming back then so we have to squeeze that into the schedule next week. But then after that, we'll.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell people who are watching now that there are several reviews going to be coming out. I'm currently watching The Bondsman, which is on Amazon Prime, which has got very much a similar vibe to say Ash versus Evil Dead, and a little bit of the Walking Dead, because it's set in Georgia. It's got Kevin Bacon in, half an hour episodes. It's on Amazon Prime right now. You'll get a review out of that from me. If I can get Major Rage to join me for Devil May Cry, which is currently on Amazon Prime. I love Devil May Cry, one of my favorite video games, and now they made an
Is it on
anime of
Amazon
it.
or Netflix? I thought it was on Netflix.
Sorry, that's on Netflix. Sorry, Bondsman's on Amazon, and yeah, and Devil May Cry is on Netflix. I'll try to get a review of that, and I'm currently reviewing Mobland, which is coming out episodically on Paramount Plus. I've done 2 reviews already, episode 1 and 2. That's already on our channel. Check that out if you're into your gangster stuff. And myself and Chito will be doing reviews of The Last of Us season 2 and Andor season 2, which will be coming
Say,
out
well,
later.
with Last of Us, it depends on what day I do it, or what day we do it. Whether it's Monday and Tuesdays are always bad for me, so
Yeah, fair enough. I'm
just
sure.
depends.
I'm sure it'll be filling in one of our current spots at this moment in time. And of course, how can we forget that we
Dark
also have
side.
side the dark side of the ring. So if you like your wrestling and you like it dark and you like to hear all those horror stories and tragic stories and sometimes in a way kind of funny macabre stories, yeah, Dark Side will deliver and we'll be reviewing that too here on the tube. Thank you very much, Cheeto. Thank you very much, everyone out there outside in YouTube land. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest social media channel you never heard of. And if you're lucky, you might get a world gone insane tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.